Hello everybody, it's Big Al with some more content for Lord of the Rings Rise to War. So with this video, it's going to be a little different. I'm going to talk about gear, picking a formation, a couple little other tips here and there throughout the video. There's a lot of people in Bag End right now or about to go to Bag End within the next week, so I figured it was a good time to do this video because a lot of it will be a refresher that has been covered in other videos. So first, we're going to go to commanders. Okay, I know what my main army is going to be for next season. I'm going with Frodo, Gandalf the Grey, Gimli, and Saruman. But I need to pick up a second formation. And when you're building a formation, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can do 3 supports with 1 damage dealer, which a lot of the bigger players are starting to do in non-role play. It also works for people that are just starting out in the game, newcomers, doing 3 supports and 1 damage dealer, just trying to pick up tiles and farm a little bit and get their bearings inside the game. It'll help you not to lose that many troops. I am not a whale or a kraken by any means, so I generally run a tank commander, a support commander, and 2 damage dealers. Depending on where I'm at in the server or what I need to do, sometimes I will do the 3 support, 1 damage dealer when I'm trying to pick up tiles, high level tiles or things like that, just so that I lose less troops. But I'm also doing less damage, so I have to make sure that my damage dealer is the best that he can be. So let's pick out a second formation. Like I said, I run 1 tank, 1 support, 2 damage dealers. And I don't care if it's a physical damage dealer or a focus damage dealer. So, for tanks, what I personally could use would be Falcon. I could build Boromir as a tank. I guess I could kind of use Erwin as somewhat of a tank because of her half elven skill to plus defense and her Queen of the Reunited Kingdom, if that hits her. So, but I don't really like her. As you can see, my Gil is only R1. If I had him R4, I would consider using him for my B team, as much as it pains me to say that. My Sauron is only R1, Witch King is R1. Let's see. Anybody in here? I've heard some people use Imrohill as a tank, but that's not me. Okay, so that pretty much goes with Gimli and Boromir as my best choices for a tank for me in my account. So we're going to definitely use Falcon. I like Falcon, and I want to get him ascended and get his relic. But Boromir, I am going to set up as a support. So with that being said, I would use his Warden, which is his evade skill. And then I would split skill points into air for the defense for him personally, and then Horn of Gondor, which will help the attack of 3 allied formations, and then 4 if I get it to level 10. So, for Falcon as a tank, his skills would be Thrain's Guard, which would be damage taken to the dwarf units in 3 allied formations. It's pretty much a dwarven White Council. But for him to tank, he needs Arid Luin, which is for each formation comprised of dwarf units in your army, defense of the commander's formation plus 10, and it stacks. And the other one would be Musician, that he can heal his unit. So, as any tank, you need a lot of command and you want unit defense. Ideally, the gear sets that you would be using for a tank would be Evasive, which is minus, I think, 10% damage for the first 3 rounds. You got Fortitude, which is only physical damage, but normal attacks from units and commanders come off as physical damage in most cases, because I have read a lot of reports about it. So the problem is the way that Fortitude is put into reports, it doesn't always say, it just takes it off without even telling you. So I personally like Fortitude. So, like I said, for my tank, there we go. We have command, I have unit defense. Another option I could have done would be put a little focus on him. And the focus would help with his healing. But with that being said, that's only firing off 3 times during the battle. So I personally like having the higher defense and higher command. Now I'm going to go to my other support. And like most supports, their skills modify off of command. Okay? So again, we're building another one with high command. So when it comes to purple gear, you're looking at like a cutlass or a crossbow. Okay? And I have some of these sets already made, which, because I've been playing this game so long, I have multiple sets with different gear effects for certain items. Like the ones for damage dealers, which I will get to in a minute. And then I have multiple sets for this as well. Well, it looks like I'm going to have to build another helmet. Okay, I'm going to put that in there for now, because that's what I have. And then we go down here and we got the Hawbuck. That is the best in slot for purple gear. And then I have the drums to match it. So that's what my second support will look like. Okay, now we're going to go to damage dealers. Okay, I could use Galadriel, I could use Dwalin, I could use Eowyn, but she's more of a support to me. She will probably be in my third army. I could use Shadow, which Shadow is really good at killing White Council, your enemy's White Council. I got Dane. Let's see. I mean, Aragoni's a little bit lower. Haldir really isn't that good to me, in my opinion. So, Dane is definitely going to be one of them. If I have to switch out Sauron because he's underperforming, it will be either Dane or Shadow I put in. So I'm going to put them in my second formation, which Dane, I believe, will do more damage than Shadow. So I'm going to give Dane the first choice on the damage dealing gear. And as I said, Battle Axe is the best purple gear for him, but you see I have them in multiple gear effects. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to go with Battle Axe. Okay, so in theory I want to try to match up set effects if it's the right item, which for purple this would be. Okay, I'm not sure what I have on here. Okay, I'm going to go with this. But I don't have a might one of the scale mail. Let me look here. I have a couple choices. I have a full helm and with thick or with sharp blade. Let me look here. I have both of those here, so I could match the set using either of those. And then on here I have thick and sharp blade as well. So I'm going to use the sharp blade. The reason for that, with purple gear you are lacking some commander attack. So let's go to Shadow. Okay, same thing. Now he's going to get one of these. I'm going again try to match up set effects as much as I can. And here's a good one, Perseverance. This one stacks throughout the fight, so the damage dealt is plus 1% each round. So I want to show you something on Shadow. This right here. Attack plus 5 each time damage is dealt, and it stacks up to 8 times. So, the more commander attack you have, the more damage you can do. Okay, so with this stacking, in his later rounds, he has the most commander attack of the fight. So with that most commander attack, he's naturally going to do more. So if I put Perseverance on him, then, hey, that's going to help him even more. Okay? So what did we have in there? At this level, attack plus 5, and it stacks up to 8 times. So that means that could be an extra 40. So that would put his commander attack at 200, which is kind of where you want to be, but that's at level 8. Okay, so at level 8, he's got the 200 command attack, plus at that point he's getting the extra percentage from the Perseverance. That could add up to some better damage in the late rounds. So we got Falcon, which is a tank. I'm going to shape up Boromir as the support, and then Dane and Shadow as my second formation. The thing is, you don't want to focus on too many formations. I run 3 different formations, and the reason I do that is because I have 17 or 18 seasons in the game, so I have a lot of gear. I have my A team that literally does everything, my B team that I will use for tiles, for defense, picking off enemy siege, or only picking fights if I am positive that they can win. And the way you do that is checking tile reports when you're fighting in a close quarter, like a choke point or something like that. And then your C team, the C team is pretty much there to do mobs, to do tiles, to pick off enemy siege armies or tilers, and that's about it. You don't ever want to take a C, D, E, or F team to fight with. A and B, that's it. Your A and B team should be the only ones fighting, and your B has limitations. Because that's why it's a B team. It's not as good as the A. So, my advice for the newcomers, do not try to make 5 or 6 lines. Make 2 or 3, but limit what each one does and be realistic about what they can do. So, a couple things on gear. The gears that I think newcomers, you need to try to have multiple sets of. Battle Axe, because that is the best in slot purple gear for physical damage dealers. Cutlass, that is the best in slot purple gear for most support commanders, okay, and tanks. If we go to armor, the scale mail is the best for physical damage dealers, okay, You also have a Scout's Mail. That is another option. As you see, there's only slight difference. This one gives focus and attack, but it also gives initiative. So, if possible, maybe make two different gear set effects of the Scale Mail, two of the Scout's Mail, and this is also when you get more and more gear. And then you have the Superior Hawbuck, which is best in slot for tanks and some of your supports, depending on what kind of support it is. The unit defense does help. Okay, I guess we go to accessories. You got the drums, which are best in slot purple for tanks and a lot of supports with the command. You have the bone talisman, which is the best in slot for physical damage dealers. And one good thing about some of the purple gear is it also adds in unit defense for the ones for the damage dealers. So that will help keep your units alive a little bit faster. Because as long as you have units, your commander is taking less damage. He's not getting targeted as much. But as soon as your units die, all the targets are going straight to that commander. So it's a good thing to have a little bit of unit defense. Helmet. You have the Horseman's Helm, which is another one I recommend having multiple gear sets when you get to that point with gear. It's the best for tanks and most support commanders for purple gear. Then you have the full helm, which is for the physical damage dealers. It gives you the most attack out of the helmets. Have a couple of those. The bone mask is the best for focused commanders. Galadriel, Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White, those kind of commanders. So it also comes down to what you're building. So like I said, try to keep in your head of some of these items that you want to try to have multiple of. Okay. Another gear thing is, okay, as you're looking at the Axe of Khazad-dûm, okay, you got the title. Underneath it, you see Commander Damage. Okay, that is the item's ability. Okay, Commander Damage, and there can be Commander Damage, Command, or hit points. Then you have the stats here that are the Commander Attack, Commander Defense, Unit Attack. And then you have the set effect down here. Another little shortcut key. As you see Axe of Khazad-dûm, if you click where it says the ability, it will go into the screen. It will show you all the different kinds of set effects. But if you click materials, it will show you what is inside of it. That way you don't have to go to the screen with the Elven Hammer every time to look inside. So here comes another thing. When you're building gear, you want to put like items inside of things. So what I mean by that, as you see, I have these 5 bows of the High Elves. I used all 5 that I had to strengthen my axe. That way, if I ever need to or decide I want to use one of those bows of the High Elves, I only have to use one hammer to get them all. Okay? Same thing in here. Oh, not that one. Let me go to this. As you see here, the Easterling helms or the Hunter's Guides. I have all of the Hunter's Guides that I own are in this item. Same thing with the Easterling. I can guarantee I will never want to use this Easterling helm. That much commander defense and the other stats are so crappy, it's not going to help you. So, right there we're talking about what each spot on the item is called, what abilities there are, the shortcut to that, some of the purple gear that you want to have multiple sets of. We talked about how you want to set up your army. My formula for me that works is a tank, a support, and 2 damage dealers. A lot of people can do 3 supports, 1 damage dealer. You can do 2 supports, 2 damage dealers. You never want to run all damage dealers because damage dealers are generally squishy. They can't take a lot of hits. They're not defending, they're not adding unit defense to your units. They're not keeping them alive. So your units will die fast and then your commanders will die fast. So don't ever use all 4 like that. Think about when you're building the formation, what the commander does, like your supports. Okay, so Falcon's going to be helping dwarven units, and he's going to tank. Boromir has a chance of evade, then he can add attack. Now I want to go to like Eowyn because I use her personally as, where is she? There she is, as a support. Okay, but I have to use mounted units for her because I use this skill, the Shield Maiden, which adds defense with the chance to add defense. Of course, when you get to level 10, it's all physique types. So you can use her even if you're not using cavalry. But I use this skill, White Lady of Rohan, because it restores hit points every round to mounted units in 3 allied formations. So to me, that is huge. And it gains stun immunity. So, okay, she's going to be stuck with horses. Okay, what other commanders? Think about what other commanders are generally use horses. Right off the top of my head, I am thinking about Theoden because all of his skills are about mounted units, buffing mounted units, buffing mounted units, and then damage dealt. Okay, other ones that are about the mounted. You got Imrahil, that's good with that. Denethor. So think about pairing those up as well. Eomer is a physical damage dealer. Okay, he's got his 2 damage skills, but he does have these 2 skills that add mounted units, add buffs to mounted units. Okay, so you don't have to use him like that. You can use him as just a damage dealer without mounted units. And you can always put points into the bloodline if you want. So there's a couple things to think about when you're building an army. Non-role play is cool because it adds a different kind of factor to it. Like I said, I'm only using Saruman and Shadow. Okay? But the synergy is there. I have my tank, I have my support, and then I have my 2 damage dealers. Okay? Up here, Saruman, one of his skills is head of White Council. He's going to be there to eliminate White Council. He's going to try to inflict badness, and he's going to try to do some damage. And then I have my damage dealer. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to cover in this. Okay, another thing is troops. You do not want to run all ranged units, meaning like sharpshooters, all 4 commanders having sharpshooters, or all 4 having bow knights. The reason for that is range doesn't have as much defense. Think about melee units and ranged units in medieval times. You had your swordsmen or shields in the front line, you had your archers behind them attacking, right? So if the enemy was coming to attack, they had to get through the melee units before they hit the archers. If there's no melee unit, they're just going straight to the archers, and the archers don't have much defense. So think about that. This game has a lot of aspects to it, but it's kind of like a puzzle. If you look at it as a puzzle piece, put each piece where it goes and what supports that build. Okay. Something else I'll throw in here is the season store. A lot of people ask, what is worth buying? Okay, honestly, nobody's going to use this helmet unless they have to. Nobody's going to use this coat unless they have to. But also think about the items that you have. Hey, I have a plate of Numenor, but it needs to be strengthened. Okay, maybe then you buy the mithril coat because you're going to use it to strengthen. I mean, some people use the dragon tooth. I personally buy the blazing tongue, and one of the reasons I use it is because I can buy that every season so that I can refine my blazing tongue. It is a decent weapon for damage dealer, physical or focused damage dealer. So, when you're looking at the season store, think about what you need to do most. If it's an item you can use, which generally the Dragon Tooth people use, the Blazing Tongue people use. The others you could use to strengthen. Or if you needed to strengthen a weapon or accessory, you could do that as well. I will always buy the Elven Hammers because you're getting new gear all the time. It's nice to be able to break something down if you need to. They added Elven Hammers to the Merit store, but those are seasonal. So that's one of the reasons why I will buy them every week in the season Merit store. And at the end of the season, the day before I go to Bag End, I will break down the majority of my gold gear and then start over. But like this time, I had to use 2 of my permanent. Okay, so I will always buy that, and I'll always spend the 100 just to get the 2 Matham tokens. Why not? So those are my suggestions. Is an item, one of the gear, if you need to strengthen or if you want to use one of the items. But that comes down to everybody's personal preference and what they're using in their account. But I do recommend the Elven Hammer and the Matham tokens. So, I rambled on quite a bit. Kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit, but that's okay. So, I want to say to everybody, if you need help, please reach out to me. I love doing gear. And who knows, maybe I can do a video on your account. Hey, if anybody's up to that, I'm willing to do that as well. I could log into your account and I can do your gear and I can explain to people how I did it, what I'm looking for, and everything like that. There has been a couple people that I have logged into their accounts before, and if you are interested in that, I can give you their names as well so that you know that it's been done and you can talk to them to make sure it's secure. But that is also something that I'm willing to do. Or you can just write me and just send me screenshots or share your commanders in game. That's fine. Okay. I know a lot of people when they do gear, they'll share and say, hey, look what I got. And then somebody will always make a comment. Why did you put this? You should have used this item instead. The thing is, people need to make the most out of what they got. They might not have that best in slot item, but what they're using is the best item that they have now. Okay, so you got to remember that when people are sharing gear. Don't just bash what they built. Say, hey, do you have this item? This might be better for you, or something like that. But don't ever bash somebody for their gear. So, okay, I'm going to stop rambling now. I'm sorry this carried on longer than expected, guys. But as always, make the most out of what you got.